So welcome to the BEwell Hub series, where we explore ideas and strategies to empower you in both your professional and personal life. Today's session is for anyone who's ever found themselves juggling deadlines, managing unexpected crises, or trying to keep a project on track amidst chaos. Whether you're organizing a high-stakes event, leading a complex project, or simply striving to improve your planning skills, this talk is for you. We're thrilled to have with us Jelena Čupić, an intuitive content and copywriter, founder of SPOJ, The Art of Connection, and an expert in helping brands find and amplify their authentic voice. Jelena recently completed a music tour that tested her skills in planning, collaboration, self-care, and crisis management. Through her experiences, she's discovered not only how to survive the chaos, but also how to thrive in it. Today, Jelena will share her insights on mastering the art of preparation, handling the unexpected, and turning crises into opportunities for growth. From practical tools like the Eisenhower Matrix and the 10-10-10 rule to self-care, strategies, and building resilience. Jelena's expertise will give you the confidence to tackle any challenge. So get ready for an engaging, insightful conversation packed with real-world examples, practical tips, and a touch of humor. Welcome, Jelena Čupić. Perhaps you can take us away with, you've just come back from this musical tour, Music on Click. Today's topic is about event organization, because today we find ourselves organizing workshops, conferences, seminars. It's all about organizing. And so you just come back from this tour. Tell us a little bit about what were your insights and how did it go?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on your podcast. It's really a great honor to be able to speak here with you and for your audience. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. So we had last week this music tour called Music on Click, and it is actually about classical percussionists playing concerts with pre-recorded track. So we had a lot of technical requirements for that tour. He played also more than 11 instruments on that tour. Ooh. And so it was a really a big logistic, how can I say it, challenge. I think that's the word, it's a challenge. Because I view challenges as opportunities to grow, you know. And it was really amazing. It was really a big success, but it tested us. It tested us really to our core. It was kind of a pilot project, because we want to improve it the next year, because we just wanted to see how the audience will react to it. And
so this was a live event, right?
Yes,
it was a live with an audience.
Yes, I played the music. I was the DJ.
Okay.
I was the click. I was the click from the title. And then my future husband, he's the percussionist. He was the music.
So what was the title? Music on Click. What was that?
Click.
Yeah, what was that?
Click. Because so the click comes from the pre-recorded track. He had his earphones the whole time during the concert, and then one track would go directly to the speakers that the audience will hear, and then the other track will go simultaneously into his ear phones, where he would hear the click to actually be able to play on the beat.
Okay.
So this is the whole logic behind the title Music on Click.
Okay. Is this a new concept, or is this how musical?
This is in classical music actually percussions are relatively young as a solo instrument, and for maybe the last 40 years, like not longer. So they are pretty young, and then we are already in this time where electronics and acoustics are mixing up together. So modern composers and contemporary composers, they use a lot of tracks, pre-recorded tracks and digital music in combination with acoustic. So as a concept is not that new. What was new here in Serbia, because we are in Serbia, was actually this kind of project where we had for the first time like the whole concert being only dedicated to music and pre-recorded track. Because normally what performers will do is maybe add 1 or 2 tracks just to make the concert more interesting. But this time we did the whole concert with pre-recorded track. So this is one of the biggest challenge for the soloist, for the percussionist, because the track, it does not conform to you, you know? So because you have that sound, you have that click in your ear, and you have to play the music. You have minimal space for improvisation, basically none, because the track goes, like, the track doesn't care if you lose yourself in the notes, in the score, or wherever. The track doesn't care. The track just goes on. So the show also must go on.
The show must go on.
The show must go on, and nobody cares. The track doesn't care. So we had a lot of fun during the tour, but we also had to face this challenge regarding relying ourselves on the technology, because we had the laptop, we had the speakers, we had the music, the music SD card, we had everything. And then 3 hours before the first concert, we had a technical issue where the two tracks were not synchronized anymore. We had everything prepared in a program, in a software that we used. Everything was pre-prepared. Everything was tried multiple times. Everything functioned perfectly every time we tried it. We rehearsed it. Everything went smoothly. And then 3 hours before the first concert, the tracks where the click is the most important part for the percussionist, it refused to work. It just did not work. So that was actually the first case of emergency crisis I had to deal there.
So is that like is that firefighting? Is that just
that was firefighting. That was
firefighting.
That was firefighting, because it was so like the amount of time that we had before the concert was not long enough to go from plan A to plan Z. You don't have that time. When you have the plan A, from plan A to plan Z, you need to have also the time to execute and to brainstorm, and then to see which kind of these different options you had planned for emergency cases you want to use. But when you're this close to your deadline, in our case, this is the beginning of the concert, you don't have this privilege to choose from different plans you had laid out for yourself.
So had you envisaged, had you imagined this situation or not?
No,
absolutely.
So that was our first mistake. We did not imagine that this type of thing will happen. We thought that the whole computer would crash. We had a backup. We thought the speakers would crash. We had a backup. For every single thing that possibly could crash, we had a backup. But nothing crashed. Just the software did something. I don't know if it was the update or something in the background that happened. Something changed. Like
so what would you advise someone if they were planning an event, like a musical event or an event, and this were to happen? What would be a backup plan for this? Well, now you've been through this. What will you do in the future?
Well, in the future, I'm going to have a sound engineer with myself on these types of projects, because, as I said, this was a pilot project and it was just the two of us. He is a percussionist and I'm a musicologist. Actually, you've mentioned I'm a copywriter. I write stuff. I'm a musicologist. I do research. I write. I do have a massive background in management as well. That's why I was entrusted with this organization of this tour. And we didn't have the budget actually for the sound engineers and tech personality, because we thought, well, we just need a laptop and 2 speakers and that's it. So you just need two speakers and a laptop, but you also need a person who understands how the laptop and the speakers and everything works connected together,
So how is this overseen? Was it down to the budget you didn't have the people, or you didn't have the time? How was this like?
It was overseen. It was just a pure naivete from the two of us, because we actually underestimated this part of the project. It was you cannot sugarcoat it. You cannot say that nicely. We underestimated this concrete situation, but nevertheless we managed to save everything, because I had, in the moment when he said, okay, this is not working, he started stressing out like 3 hours before his first concert. And my biggest priority in that moment was keeping him calm, because he has to perform. Like my is just to click on the laptop, it's fine, like I don't but he needs to be calm and focused, because he has to perform the whole concert. So my top priority was actually keeping him calm. Then the second priority was find the best backup solution you can find in this short time. I said, okay, I asked him, if we cannot synchronize the tracks, do you want to play with or without click? Because if we play the click, the whole audience will hear that click. And if he will be able to play everything right, but the audience will also hear that click that he will normally hear only in his earphones. And then the other option is for us to play without the click, where the audience will hear just a normal music, but for him it would be more difficult because he wouldn't be able to orient himself where he is in the score.
Yeah.
And we just made a really fast decisions there. I just asked, click or not, click or no click. If we cannot fix it, no click. Okay, fine. So the track was prepared already. And then I said, okay, we have the solution. For the worst case scenario, we have the solution. And now let's try contact somebody that we know can help us resolve this. And we had the best of luck that this friend of ours, we had the best of luck that a friend of ours, who is a composer and works a lot with electronics, he actually was available. And we sent to him the tracks and he made everything function again. And he sent us back the project. And in the end, everything worked out. And we actually solved everything. Like everything that I told you now actually happened in 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was a really fast.
So how do you distinguish between under pressure and underprepared? What is the difference there? Under pressure and underprepared?
Well, under pressure is just when you have a really big project and a deadline and you have everything planned out and you have every possible scenario written out and you have every possible solution, but you still don't have the time. You have a short amount of time. So you feel pressured just to execute everything in that timetable. When you are unprepared, you are like us 3 hours before the concert. That's just unprepared. And unprepared is also when you lack resources. So we have to keep in mind when you plan and organize an event. Okay, we had a music tour.
Okay.
But we can actually apply this process in organizing any type of event you want. We can talk about workshops, we can talk about conferences, we can talk about product launches, everything that is fast-paced, short-term project.
So when you say something under pressure and unprepared, underprepared, let's say, under pressure is something that's out of your control, and underprepared is something that you can control. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that that's partially what I'm saying, because even when you're under pressure, you can actually control how you react in the situations and challenges that come your way, you know. But when you're under pressure, you have all your resources. You just have to cherry pick which one you are going to use, and you just have to choose the way you react to everything that comes your way. When you're unprepared, you even lack resources. When you're unprepared, that just means that you don't have all the resources you require in order to realize that project.
So when a team is launching a product, for example, we're talking about launching a product and so on, and they're underprepared, not unprepared, underprepared.
Okay.
What is the reason, do you think, that they feel underprepared, or they are underprepared?
I would say that that's the lack of organization. So every team has a team leader or a team manager, let's call them. So I can use also a couple of my examples from my past experiences.
Okay.
When I organized workshops and conferences while I was working at university in Austria a couple of years ago. So when starting an organization for that type of event, first you have to have your expectations clear. Like the expectations are the biggest thing you have to have laid out for you and for your team. You need to have these expectations completely written out. What do you expect from yourself? Like, what is it that you expect from yourself to do in regard to that project? What are the expectations that you have from your team? What are the expectations you have from the project? Like, what are the project goals? Where are you moving? Where are you moving with your team? In which way? To which direction? And what are the expectations your team has from you? Because let's face it, when a team fails, it's actually a failure of a management. That's how I view it. I always felt very responsible for the performance of my team, because essentially they are working and doing everything that all of us together prepared, organized, and
so how do you organize? You said planning and organizing and so on. What do you use? Do you have tools? Do you write things down? Do you record things? How do you keep track of all of this?
Well, first of all, I write. When you said, first of all, you said I write everything down. I write all of my ideas down. I write all of my tactics down. I write everything that comes to my mind. I write that down. Okay. Because if I don't do that, every single idea that I have will just lose itself in my mind, and then it's gone. So I write. When I have my first initial idea on how to organize a workshop, for example, I will assemble my team, and then we'll have a kickoff meeting. During that kickoff meeting, I'm going to share my ideas with my team. We are going to discuss them. I'm going to get the feedback from my team. And then we are going to refine it all together. Because even though as a manager, I extremely value the opinion and the expertise of the people I work with. Okay. So that's very important for me as a person in management position. And after that, when I know for myself, for example, as a person who organizes, what is everything that I need to do, when I have all of my tasks prioritized, then I will use most of the time the Eisenhower Matrix. So you know that. The stuff that are urgent and important, that are not urgent but important, that are important but not urgent, and not urgent and not important.
So that's the Eisenhower
Matrix.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you can really imagine it as a square. You always draw it as a square, you know? So in one corner, I have the urgent and important. So I attend to that. Urgent and important, I attend to that immediately.
Yeah.
The urgent, but not important. No, sorry. I have to have it in front of me. Because it's.
This is a priority tool, right? It's
yes,
like
of course.
Tool,
so you can So you can actually check off the list faster. Let me just draw it in front of myself so I can.
Okay.
So I can tell you.
So when we're firefighting, Jelena, we are in the urgent and important, right?
Of course. When you're firefighting, you are urgent and you're important, and that's why you have to be able to take action fast and focused. You don't have the time to think about zillion options, you know.
But that's not the best option, right? It's not the best way to work.
This is not the best way to work. Firefighting is not the way you want to work. Firefighting and the situations in which you had to firefight, those are not desirable situations.
No. So they're very stressful, I can imagine.
They are very stressful, very harmful. On the long run. Like we can also talk about people who are I would call them like chronic firefighters. So you don't want to be.
Why is that? Why did they become chronic firefighters? For what reason?
We always fall back to the lack of organization and prioritizing. We will always fall back on that. We can discuss different situations, different people you are working with, because you cannot always you cannot always choose the people you are working with, because sometimes when you come, I don't know, in a new company, and then you apply for a management position and you get a team that is just not functioning still the way you want them to or you would like them to. We can discuss every scenario we want, but everything starts with you. And
so we're talking a little bit about leadership here, right?
We talk a lot about leadership.
So tell us about what's the leadership in your experience, and what is the best approach? There's so many different types of leadership styles, approaches.
Yes. Yes.
What do you use? What's your style?
My style is lead by example.
Okay.
Always lead by example, and then not be afraid to make mistakes, because we are all human beings. So that's the first thing we are. Before we are managers or team leaders or team members or CEOs, whatever our position may be, first and foremost, we are all human beings, which means we are all fallible.
Yeah.
And I think that this is one of the most important things to acknowledge. And even more so because the only people, or the only people who cannot make mistakes are those who are not working anything. and not doing anything, because when you're not doing anything, you cannot make mistakes. Every single person who is working on something with somebody is prone to make 1 or 2 mistakes.
So in your team, are you looking for proactive people? Are you, I mean, do you look for those kind of people, or do you want people who follow you, listen, you know, instructions? No,
always proactive people, because as I said, as a human being myself, I'm also prone to mistakes. So I want to have people in my team that are open with me, that communicate openly with me. So because communication is one of my highest values. And this is so important. And this feedback culture is so important. And the
feedback culture, what do you mean? Because giving feedback or receiving feedback is another topic, right? It's quite a delicate topic. How do you have a way of giving feedback that you use, or how do you feel when you get feedback? I mean, what kind of feedback would you like to receive?
I like to receive a constructive criticism. And that's also the type of feedback I like to give. But as you said, this is a very nuanced and tricky topic, because not everybody is equipped with the tools to give the feedback in the right way. I'm quoting this the right way, because I don't believe that there is a right and wrong way to do anything. There's just your way. And I think most of the time it's like a couple when it fights, you know, and then you have the girl saying, it's not what you said, it's how you said it.
Okay.
And most of the time it actually comes down to it. It's not what we say, it's how you say it.
Okay.
So this is the most important thing for me, general in communication, and especially when giving feedback. When I am giving feedback to my team members or to anybody I'm working with, and even with my fiance and my parents and my friends, to anybody, when I give any kind of feedback, I always use these tactics. I approach the subject with, how is it affecting me? I am never going to attack a person for doing something. Like, for example, if you did something that bothered me, or I felt hurt in any type of way, I would never come to you and be like, you know, Gary, you did this and this, and why did you do it, and stuff like that. I will never do it. I will come to you, first of all, calmly. I would never yell, because I don't believe in yelling. I don't believe in the message being, how can I say it? I'm missing an English word. I have a German one, but transmitted is the word in English.
Transmit.
Yes, I don't believe that by yelling you can transmit your message easier. Like, when people are yelling at me, it normally doesn't, it comes until here and then not further, because I don't react to that. So first of all, I will come to you calmly. And then I'm going to tell you that something you did or something you said affected me in this and that type of way. And then I'm going to ask you if there was something that I have done to provoke this kind of reaction from you. And if yes, what was that? And let's see if we can resolve that.
Is that an approach that a leader can use? Because usually the leader is the one who has the authority. Can he or she go to a person and just say, listen, what you've done has affected me, and I'd like to know why you did that? Or
when you are talking as a leader with your team members, you are going to talk how it affected the project, not you personally.
Okay.
But you are going to talk how something somebody did affected the project.
All right.
But I will always keep this approach where I would also ask what happened with you, or in your work, or in your process, that got us to this point. Like, something must have happened, or you mismanaged your time, or you had some, I don't know, professional, personal crisis you couldn't resolve on your own. So something happened, and then you made a mistake, or whatever you did.
So when you give feedback, or you're speaking to a person, you're not is this right? You're not approaching the person directly, but you're actually going into the process rather than the person.
Of course, and that is the most effective way I've found, because normally when you are giving feedback, everyone just feels personally attacked. Because my experience showed me that a lot of people, I don't know what's the reason for it actually, but a lot of people, they just seem to have this challenge to separate personal from professional. And this is my way of showing you that if I am criticizing, something you did, that doesn't mean I'm criticizing you as a person. It just means that there is space for improvement in the way you are doing something and in your work, if that makes sense.
Just going back to the firefighting point, Jelena, a lot of leaders, a lot of managers find themselves today in firefighting roles. They do. They're just thrown into that role, and they have to manage people and processes and deadlines. And how can they get on top of this? How can they handle not firefighting all day long? Because it's very stressful, very tiring, and the results are just temporary. So how can how can a leader avoid that kind of approach, the firefighting approach?
Just by being prepared. Every time you have a project, when you know what you can, if you are in that kind of position, you can certainly anticipate when some situations may appear and may occur. So you have to be prepared. You just have to be prepared. You can do also the pre-mortem. You can also do the pre-mortem tactics, and that's the one I don't like, actually. I don't like it because that's the one where you sit around and then think of all the things that can possibly go wrong.
Okay.
When you lay out these possibilities, and then you try and find the solution for each and every scenario that can possibly go wrong during your project.
Oh.
So it's a handy one, because if I did that, I probably would have someone in a role of a sound engineer on my music tour if I did that. Yeah. But I don't like that personally. Yeah. But I learned now, so it's fine. You learn either way, you know. So that's one of the tactics you can actually use to be more prepared, because that's actually what everything comes to. You have to be organized, you have to be prepared, you have to stay on top of your team. So if that means I don't know how you heard also for Scrum Agile.
Yeah.
Okay. So they have this daily 15 minutes meetings. So for me, that turned out to be a really nice way of staying on top of everything.
Okay.
And those are the meetings that are really short and on the point. You have 15 minutes, every single person on your team says like the current status of their work. And then you can actually see where are you, if everything is going according to plan, if there is some changes to be made. And the key is to be flexible and to stay flexible.
Well, what about delegating? How are you with delegating? Do you delegate? Do you keep?
Of course, that's why you have the team, because if you want to do everything your own, then I don't know, like good luck. But that's I had this issue a couple of years ago where I had this fear that everything will fall apart if I don't do it myself, and it's not going to be perfect, and it's going to fall apart, and I have to do everything on my own, and nobody is capable of doing anything I say. So these were my thoughts.
What's wrong with that?
It makes you burn out faster than a match, like not even a candle, a match. So it's
perfect, right? If you do it, you're expecting perfection. If you do it, it's going to be 100% the way you want it.
Oh, no, that doesn't mean that, because even when you're doing it yourself, there are some external factors you cannot influence. So it's just a really nice story you are telling yourself, and it's just sugarcoating the fact that you're a control freak. And then a couple of years ago, I started, well, not a couple of years ago, there 5-6 years ago, I started this big process of working with my well, not, I wouldn't say flaws, but weaknesses in this sense, because I see it as, this control freak moment, I see it as a weakness, because it consumes you so much, because you have to spread yourself so thin that it's just inevitable for you to snap somewhere. Something is going to break, something is going to crack, because you are only one person. And this is the most important thing, like for everybody that listens to this and will listen to this. Really, the most important thing to always have in your mind is that you are only the one person. You only have 100%. So if you are doing or want to do 10 things simultaneously, you don't have 1,000% in you. You have always and in each moment 100% of your energy.
But not everyone is going to give you 100%, are they? Because you give 100%, and the other people will give 10 or 20 or 50.
No, I'm talking when you want to do everything on your own.
Okay.
When you want to spread yourself to 10 different things, nothing is going to be perfect, because what happens when you give each thing only 10%? It's never going to get done.
Yeah.
And you're going to be stuck in this loop, and nothing good can come out of it. So that's, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So that's when this delegating part comes into the story. You surround yourself with a group of people you can rely on, you trust, and they are also experts in their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So you delegate. And this is also one part of the square. You remember the
Eisenhower Matrix, yeah.
Yes, of course. So the part of the square where the things that are important but not urgent, those are the ones you can delegate easily.
So give us an example, Jelena, of delegating. How do you delegate? I mean, what's the approach to delegating a task to a member of your team?
Well,
do you just say, hey, you do that? Or is there some sort of a process to delegating?
No, it's a process. Of course, everything is a process. And that's also, I have to mention, that's also according to your leadership type. Because I am not the one to lead with this perspective from top to bottom. I'm never going to be the person that's going to look down to my team and then talk to them like they are somewhere below me. No, I always talk with them like in the same eye height, you know?
Okay.
And it's always a process. When we say we have a project, we sit together, and I do delegate, but we also make together the deadlines. I'm also never going to tell you, if you were part of my team, I would never say, okay, Gary, I need this and this until then and then. I'm going to tell you that we have to get this and this done. When can you have it done? And then you're going to tell me 5 days. And then I say, okay, I'm going to tell it to the stakeholders 10 days, because I'm going to give you the buffer time. I don't know what's going to happen to you or with your work, or the laptop is going to crash, or something can go wrong, you know? But time buffer is also always a good tactic to make the pressure not that big, not to be under that much of a pressure. Because you see, this is also a nice example of being under pressure and then unprepared. Because when you want to relieve the pressure, you add this time buffer to your deadlines. That's how you make sure you're going to get everything on time, and possibly even maybe before the deadline. That's how you manage everything in time, and you also get to look good in front of your big boss or stakeholders or clients or audience when you have a concert.
No, you were talking before about, you mentioned the word burnout.
Of course.
Okay. It's a big phenomenon that's happening in top management. People just getting burnout, and then they disappear for 2 or 3 years. They go in some sort of island and they're just like spaced out. So what do you do when you're organizing? I mean, how long was your tour? How many days was your tour?
It was 1 week.
It was 1 week. Okay. So it was 1 week. That is that the maximum time? Is it after one? I mean, could you do this tour for 1 month? Was that too much?
You can do it. You can do it. You just have to, we are falling back again to it. You just have to plan it.
Okay. And so the question is regarding burnout. How do you sort of plan for not burning out?
Burning out. Yeah. So
can you plan for that?
Sure, you can. So it's actually very simple. It's putting yourself first before the work. It's so simple. It's so simple. And you have nowadays this work culture where now actually we have a lot of people looking for work-life balance. You've heard that. You've heard that.
Yeah. What is that? Maybe our listeners want to know what is a work-life balance? What are we talking about?
I personally don't believe in it. Let's face it, because I believe that life comes first. You are not living for work. You are working to make your life interesting, beautiful. You are working to live your life the way you want it. So I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in life first, work second.
Okay.
So
but there, I don't know if things are changing now, but there has been in the past this phenomenon of people just work 12 hours a day, Saturday, Sunday. They're 24/7. They're on call all the time.
Of course, and that's also the question of priorities. Those are the people who will prioritize their work over their health, over their personal life, over their families, over their, you name it. Yeah. Those are the people who are going to prioritize their work. Listen, I don't judge. Pun intended. I don't judge anybody, because I actually believe in freedom of choice. So people can choose for themselves if they're going to work these 12, 14, 16, whatever hours a week, or
Yeah,
they
a day,
a
sometimes
day or
12
whatever.
hours a day. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, you said that. So, but we also have to be aware of the consequences of our choices. So if you choose to work 12 or more hours a day, you are bound to burn out at some point. Because what does that mean? When you work 12 hours a day, you are sleep deprived, food deprived, you are you don't have focus. So there are a lot of studies done that a person that not even an 8 hour a day is okay for a person to work with full focus. You don't have it. You don't have it. You're like, people cannot work 8 hours with full focus.
Okay.
You can maybe work for 4 to 6 hours. So that's why you have, I don't know which Scandinavian country maybe did that study that they actually wanted to introduce for 4-week workday, 4-day work week.
Okay. Yeah.
And because we don't have this capacity, we receive so many informations constantly, like through social media, phones, anywhere, so that our brain cannot even process that many information. So for me, it's not that strange that people are burning out faster than matches, really.
So when you organize an event, you or the Music on Click, the tour or the workshops or so on, how do people, like, especially if the event is for like 1 week or for 3 or 4 days or 5 days, how do they physically stay healthy? Because I mean, burnout is also lack of sleep. You said maybe the quality of your food, maybe it's the device. I don't know, addiction. You know, you're addicted to your device non-stop. So my question is, how do we take care of ourselves to avoid this burnout?
You listen to your body and you listen to your needs. You actually accommodate to your needs first. And that is actually, again, really simple. You make your schedule, you make sure that your schedule accommodates to your personal life. So if you say, that's what I do, for example, I want to sleep 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours I want to sleep, and that's it. So I will make sure that my day looks a certain way so that I can sleep my 8 hours. I eat 3 times a day. I will make sure I have like 3 main courses, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
I will make sure that my schedule allows me to have my 3 meals. I will make sure I stay hydrated. And then you have, and that's easy. It's easier for me to do that because I have experience in organizing a bunch of different things. But then you can ask this kind of question for somebody who is managed, for example, like my artist. He just goes around and plays and practices. And my artist in this case is my future husband, so I know how he lives, and I know what I had to do in order for him to stay calm and hydrated and well rested and everything, because he would lose himself. He would actually lose himself in the practicing of all the in practicing of all these different instruments, and I would be running after him like, can you please take a sip of water? Can you please have a break now? Make a break, eat something, leave your phone, leave everything. And then of course you have to make sure that the frustration doesn't come up as often.
Frustration for what? Frustration
For example, when you have short-term projects and you have to execute something, and then something is not working. For example, let's use our music tour. He was playing 6 different pieces on that concert. And in one particular piece, there was this one passage. He practiced with this one passage for 1 hour, I think. I thought I'm going to go crazy. And it just that this passage didn't want to come out of his hands. It didn't want to come. And then he started really freaking out because he has a concert in 1 week. This thing doesn't want to go out. And he was screaming around the house. I was in the other room. He was screaming around the house. And I said, okay, leave it. Just leave it be. No, but I have to practice. You really don't have to practice anymore because it's done. You are at the point where it's not fruitful. It doesn't bring you anything. It just brings you frustration because this thing is not coming out, and it is not going to come out as long as you are frustrated. Right. So just leave it be. So there is this one thing, you also need to know when to stop.
Okay.
It
So
doesn't mean you're giving up, you know?
No,
It just means take a break, take a breath. I also did with him like breathing exercises,
okay.
you know?
Yeah.
Like really deep breath in. I cannot do that because I have a cold.
Yeah.
But to take a deep breath in and then an even longer breath out, and then do that a couple of times and just recenter yourself.
Yeah.
Like center yourself, come back to yourself. So this is the most important thing. That was for him important. That was for me important. I didn't play these 11 instruments. I had the click part, but I had the other stuff to think about. Okay. And it was also very important for me to be present, because very often, more often than not, when people have these situations where you call them fast-paced, and they are, and these fast-paced situations, they are very intense most of the time, so intense that people are you would say that out of themselves. And when you are out of yourself, nothing can go right.
No.
Nothing.
So let me ask you a question about how do you manage emotions? I can imagine on a music tour or in an event, emotions are high and low. How do you keep balance on that? So you don't, 1 minute you're, you're like, on top of the world, and the second you're on the floor. How do you manage emotional regulation?
Well, I personally let them flow. I see them, I acknowledge them, I let them go. So this is the tactic that I adopted a couple of years ago, because I realized that if I cling on some emotion, it's going to consume you too much, and it's not good. It's not good. So I trained, and actually I'm still training myself. It's very challenging to be able to actually view your emotions like on a movie screen, like a movie track, like every single okay, I feel like that, it's fine, go. I feel like that, okay, it's fine, go. So that's the tactic I am using now. And I don't know how helpful that is for somebody who still did not try that or has any.
So what would you recommend for someone who's organizing a workshop, event, whatever, and they're having these emotional jumps up and down? Like, sometimes everything is going well and you're really excited and good, and then suddenly bang, something goes wrong, and then you're brought down, frustrated. And how would you manage those ups and downs? Is there a way to manage that or not?
I believe that there is a way to manage it, and it's actually by well, in that case, also breathing exercises. Like, breathing is the most magical, powerful tool humans possess, and I don't think we are aware of how powerful that tool is. So we can, of course, when you have a positive, I don't like specifically labeling stuff as positive and negative. Like, I believe that stuff just is, and we give them the meaning, So, but for the sake of our conversation, when you have a positive experience, a positive emotion, you are hyped, everything is going well. Of course, you want to stay in this vibration because you want to keep doing that. But when you feel frustrated or anxious or something, I do this exercise, I use this technique called anchoring.
Okay.
So
what is that?
Anchoring is actually the technique I learned on my NLP education, and it's so powerful. I'm so grateful that I got to know it. And the thing is, you find, for example, let's take anxiousness and calmness. When you're anxious, you want to feel calmed. Okay, so that's going to be our example. And every time when you feel anxious, you want to evoke the feeling of feeling calm. You do that by giving yourself a sign. You're like, it's a bodily sign. I do it with my ring.
Okay.
So every time when I feel stressed or anxious or stressed or anxious in this case, I would spin my ring. And every time I spin my ring, I actually think of the moment when I feel the calmest. And in my case, that's one particular hug where I always go to in my mind. And this is a very, very powerful technique you can use.
Is that something, the anchoring, Jelena, is it something that stops you overthinking or catastrophizing something? Is that why you do this? Because
yes, because it stops you from spinning out of reality. It stops you from spinning out, and it brings you back to yourself. It's also a technique to bring you back to yourself, to center yourself, to because, for example, in my case, it works like this. You feel anxious, or well, I feel anxious. I evoke this feeling of calmness.
Yeah.
And the moment I am calm, I can breathe freely again. And the moment I can breathe freely again, I can center myself. And the moment I center myself, I can think clearly again. And the moment I can think clearly again, I only see solutions. So this is the whole process, how the anchoring works for me.
So we're coming to the end of our conversation. You know, we've had nearly a 1 hour conversation.
Oh my God, the time
Exactly.
flew by.
You've given us a lot of insights, a lot of things to take away. So as we're coming, maybe you can summarize the last like 5 minutes. We've got 3-4 minutes. Just tell us, organizing events, what should people look out for? We talked about self-care, we talked about planning, we talk about leadership, we talk about many things. So could you just sort of close it up? So
Summarize it.
Yeah.
Well, let's make it like points, you know, when you're organizing any kind of event, any kind, it can be short-term, long-term, any kind. First and foremost, you start by writing out your expectations. Second, you gather a team of people you are willing to work with. Third, you lay out a plan. Fourth, you execute a plan. So easy. But with that said, the key points are always stay flexible. You will have your project plan, you will have your deadlines, and then more often than not, something is not going to go according to plan. So my biggest advice is always to stay flexible. Be open to new solutions. Have an open ear for your colleagues. Have an open ear and put yourself and your people first. The most important thing is you, your team, and your health. Because if you are not well, you are not going to execute your project well. You're not going to execute it, period, probably. Yeah. If your health fails you. If you are constantly firefighting, you are doing something wrong.
Right.
Reassess. It is a very good skill to have, but it is not something to be proud of if you're doing it constantly. Something is missing if you're doing it constantly. And then all these tips and tricks I gave, like breathing exercises and anchoring and pre or post-mortem or Eisenhower Matrix, those are the tactics that I find helpful. These may help someone else as well. But I believe that the most important thing is do your own research. We live in this digital age. You can actually find so many things online. You search, you look, learn, develop your skills, and then find a couple of these tactics and tips and tricks and techniques that will help you with the challenges you will inevitably face.
Definitely. Last but not least is how to celebrate. How do you celebrate? How do you reward yourself after a whole day's work? Do you reward yourself? Is there a reward, or is it just at the end of the workshop, the tour, the seminar that you reward yourself with a glass of wine, or what?
How do you celebrate?
Yeah.
You celebrate.
Is that important? Celebrating?
It's so important. It's so important. First of all, I celebrate everything. So this was an amazing question for the end, because I believe in celebrating the smallest victories. So really, I celebrate everything. Recently, I had one question. Somebody asked me a question, how do you measure success? What's the measurement of success? And then, first of all, my first thought was my health, right? And then, how do you measure success? And then I actually realized I am measuring success by celebrating every little win that I have during the day. Like every time I have my to-do list on one day done, I celebrate that. Every time I get a task done, I celebrate it. When we finish our talk, I will celebrate it.
Well, I think
The
that's
way
what
I celebrate it, it's always first with gratitude. Like gratitude is actually my most powerful tool.
Yeah.
Save the best for the last, right?
That's it. I mean, I think celebration is, we're coming to the end. I think we, that's very important. It's just celebrating the small, looking for the details,
Yes,
get lost in the details, because it's unfortunate we don't look for details. We look at the big thing and we say, wow, but look for the details and get lost in the details and celebrate those. And if you do that, you're celebrating nonstop, because there are details everywhere.
And
so
that's why I said gratitude, because after a project, I always gather my team and we do this this round where everybody says what are they thankful for during our project. And I don't want, those are the moments I don't want to hear only I'm so grateful that we finished our project. I don't want to hear that. Of course I want to hear that as well, but what I focus on is, especially if we had some challenges during the execution of our project, I want to hear that you are grateful and thankful for every challenge that we had, because we grew from that challenge. We learned something new from that challenge. So you are actually grateful for learning something new, for growing as a person, for improving yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Every single
what do they say? I mean, I say this to my child as well. Don't ask for the challenge to be smaller, just ask for you to be bigger.
That's it.
I think that's the way it is. Like, so when the challenges come, it's like when you play the PlayStation or you play those computer games, when you go to the next level, it's more difficult and more difficult and more difficult. You can't say, I'm going to go to the next level, it's going to be easier. It doesn't work like that. So that's is to be actually bigger rather than the challenges be smaller. So listen, Jelena, thank you very much. It's been great talking to you. Thank you for being here on this BEwell and sharing all your insights on how to organize an event, the firefighting, the delegating, everything. I mean, whoever watches this video, hopefully you're going to take something away. And if you want to go any deeper, reach out to Jelena. She's on LinkedIn. Have you got a website as well, Jelena?
It's under construction.
It's under construction.
I have Instagram. I will send you and you can then link it.
Okay. But anyway, if anyone wants to go anything deeper into organizing musical tour or events and so on, reach out to Jelena Čupić.
Yes.
Čupić, and I'm sure she will be more than happy to help you. So again, thank you and see you next week.
Thank you so much. See you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.